Oh, hell. Hate when I mess with this stupid camera holder. Struggles of being a YouTube creator. It's like almost right, but it's just off. Yeah, that looks good enough. Good day. Welcome to my channel. My name is Matt. This is Doom Comes to Willowford, episode 9. Before we get started, I want to show everybody something. I know I'm going to mispronounce his name. I think it's Chocolates? Chocolates. Man, I'm sorry. Your name, I know you pronounced it in your last video. I think so that I could pronounce it correctly. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, he showed this book in his video, and so I went and picked it up. This thing is freaking awesome. I went and got it printed at Office Depot. This is not sponsored. But you can get a quick look at the table of contents right there. This thing is probably one of the best hex random generator kind of thing that I've seen. It's very minimalist in its layout and style and design, but it's got some honestly kind of childish artwork, but I absolutely love it because it kind of harkens back. I mean, look at that dude. We've all done art like that when we were younger too, and it just kind of harkens back to the old, where we started looking like that. What, is that a goblin sleeping? I don't know. I love the some of the artwork that they use. The really basic, just show you what you need kind of appearance of things. Let me see if I can find there's a little keep. I really like the towns. Where's it at? I haven't gone through and laid this out yet or tabbed it up, but very simple. Determine, hamlets, how big they are, what they have. Then you got villages. Very simple, very quick, easy D6, D20, D8. I think there's some D12s in there too. There's also some damn D30s. Why do we keep using that stupid die? Die sucks. It's like rolling a ball. Anyway, I highly recommend this. You should pick it up. Thanks to Chocolates for showing it in one of his more recent videos. Love it. Great thing to get. Now on with the show. So where we left off, the band was relaxing a little bit in Bowermore, burning off some steam. We had Joseph, Dagda, and Hal went and got toasty at the keg and kibosh. Sam went and visited Brunilda and saw his sister Daisy, saw how things were going, and got a little bit of a pep talk from her. And then we had Willona, who really probably had the most significant events happen. Actually, she kind of remembered silver was important, and to defeat the white that they had discovered up in the ruins of St. Albinus, she thinks they need silver. This town, I rolled off screen while I was kind of figuring out what was going to be happening in this episode. Bowermore does not have enough silver to do what they want to do. What they need to do is they need to get their equipment silvered. And in asking the townspeople, I'm going to pull out my white box omnibus, which has the Willow Valley Gazetteer in it. One of the things they talk about is the Father Arden, who is the local parish father in Willowford, can actually silver equipment or weapons. He can silver weapons or bless them and silver them in hopes that they could battle these. The band has decided they are going to get some rest that day. The next day they are going to get a ferry going back to Willowford. And that is where we will pick up our little adventure. So the next day the band gets a ferry contracted to take them over to Willowford. It's not a very long trip. It takes a couple hours. What we're going to do real quick is we are going to roll my oracle to see if the scene that we are expecting happens, which is a simple oracle roll for me. I know in previous, I've done this thing with the chaos factor, which comes from Mythic. Great product. Not going to use it though. What I'm going to roll here is I'm just going to do a simple Oracle roll with just these 2 dice. And if positive is high, that means the expected scene happens. And that is a no. So, this brings up a moment to show something else I've been working on. So this is a terrible font rendition of, I guess we're calling it Matt's Freedom Oracle because it's red, white, and blue. Somebody online, I apologize if I forget your name, used that. It might have been on Reddit. It might have been on YouTube. I'm not sure. Somebody called it the Freedom Oracle because it's red, white, and blue. I love it. Somebody else called it the slider system. I don't care. Whatever. As far as I'm concerned, it's my system, but whatever. So one of the things we can do is down at the bottom here is something that I've been working on is that if something happens, and what it's really based on is if there's a random event. Now, in this case, I rolled that I got something happens that is not the expected scene, which was a simple trip across the lake. So the way this works is you roll the blue die. That will give you the focus, the activity, the character, or the object of what is going on in this interrupt scene. The red die will then dive further into what is happening with that particular item or object or activity. And then if you're still a little unclear, you need a little bit more, you can roll the white die. So you actually use all 3. And you can see if it's an event that happens locally or an event that happens remote. So we're going to roll that. We're just going to start with the blue and red die and see what we get. All right, so here we got a character. And yes, I realize this font is terrible. I'll probably put this up on itch at some point in the future, but I will definitely change the font. I like the old style typewriter font, but it looks terrible on this, and I'm sure it looks terrible in the video. Anywho, so we got character, add. All right, so using my DM knowledge, I know some things that are happening, and the way I'm going to interpret this particular event is just a small little scene. So as the band is in the ferry, it's like a small boat. They're in there. Maybe there's like a wagon cart or something on there with goods going back and forth between Barrowmore and Willowford. As they are crossing this pond, suddenly Willona gets this sense that something's wrong, and her anxiety picks up. She looks around. Nothing is going on the water. She doesn't see anything, but she definitely feels for just a moment. Imagine Luke sensing Darth Vader. It's that kind of thing. It's like a gut feeling that something's wrong and it's in this area. And sorry, the dog is walking again. Gotta love my dogs. So she is getting this sense that there's something evil, something wrong in this area. Nothing actually transpires, but it's something that definitely sets her nerves off. Okay. After that, the band continues on to Willowford. For those of you that are curious, we're going from Barrowmore across Willow Lake here to Willowford. Okay. So we arrive in Willowford, and it's midday, nothing too bad going on. Town seems okay. It's an average day in town. And they are going to head to the Church of the Silver Light, which these are the docks right here. The Church of the Silver Light is this building right here. And they are going to head there because Willona wants to speak with Father Arden. Let's see Father Arden's general mood. Is he in a good mood today? Ambiguous. Thank you, dice. All right, well, so that's another double. Evil today. Let's see what transpired. All right, so What I got there is 4, which is character, and 5, which is add. So that means something has happened. I'm going to roll this die to see what the location of this random event is. 2, and it takes place here. Oh, okay. All right. This works perfect. So the band arrives at the docks, and there is a lot of commotion going on. Things are happening. Townspeople are running about. They're quickly joining another group. Like, they don't want to be alone in town. The band unloads from the ferry, and they start asking questions. They're curious as to what's going on. What is going on? What caused this insanity? What's the commotion that's going on in town? They start walking into the town here. They come down here. They cross the ford, and they come up in this area, and they start to learn that something terrible has happened during the night. Basically, everyone's set on edge because of the event that happened last night. So last night, the town has a wandering patrol, maybe 2 or 3 guys who kind of wander about and make sure that things are going okay in town after dark, because the town does not have a wall. They heard a scream up near the north side of town. As the group of guards ran that way, they found, let's see, what building is that up there? I think that's the blacksmith. Yeah, that's the blacksmith. All right, Elias Smith is the gentleman who lives here. He lives there with his wife and daughter. And his wife and daughter were coming back from visiting friends or something. This was early in the evening, maybe about 8 or 9 at night. Sun was down, it was dark. And as they got right about here, this is the old abbey. The description in the book says, stone ruins, long crumbled and overgrown with lichen and ivy, are all that remains of what appears to have once been a church. Now only broken walls and a dirt floor remain. There's also an old cemetery right next to it. The cause of the alarm is that the women observed the dead rising out of the cemetery. They started screaming. So, of course, in the middle of the night, screams happen. Well, that just causes, word spreads very quickly. Everybody gets excited, especially in a small town on the frontier, in the dark, at night, with no wall around it, with a very small guard force. Everybody got agitated, drew weapons, and ran to see what was going on, to see if they needed to help overcome whatever disaster was happening. And what they observed was every one of these skeletons crawled out of the ground and began to march forward. Some were missing legs, some were cut in half, some were missing heads, but in various stages of decay, every skeleton crawled out of the ground and began heading northward. A few of the guards initially ran up and tried to engage them. One guard was cut down, but the other guards that were engaged with the skeletons soon realized that the skeletons didn't really appear to pose a danger to the town and were merely climbing out of the ground and heading north into the woods. To the north of town is Gallows Wood Forest. There's a known elven tribe there that is not very friendly with Willowford. But the skeletons basically were coming out of the ground and then marching forward. The decision was made to just leave them alone, especially when they discovered how many there were. Let's figure that out. I don't know how many people have been buried there over time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll 4 d10s, and we're just going to add them up. So that's 14 and 14, 28. So 28 skeletons rose out of the ground here and marched north. So this is the scene that our band stumbles upon as they enter town. And the band heads up to the north here. They're adventurers. They want to see if... And this is the following day. So that was 12, probably longer than that. It's probably been about 14 hours, something like that. Remember, it's probably early mid morning, or I'm sorry, late mid morning, early noonish time when they arrive here in town. So they're up on the near the site of the abbey, and they start asking around. They talk to various people, and Willona notices Father Arden is definitely there. The town, all the townspeople are very interested to get his take on things, and you can tell he is very overwhelmed. In the text, it actually talks about how he is a little bit overwhelmed and experienced because he's younger. He's a bit nervous and easily overwhelmed with what's going on in this place. However, he does have a keen intellect. He is nothing but lawful good. He definitely has the town's interest. He's not a guy with personal ambitions. His goal is to serve the Silver Light, which is the god that they have here. It's a lawful god of protection and compassion. So his goal in life is to further the desires of his town and bring prosperity and peace to his town. So he's trying to calm fears, allay people getting too anxious about what's going on, and doomsday and gossip spreading and stuff like that. So Willona is going to walk up to Father Arden, who is talking to a bunch of townspeople, listen for a moment, and see what she's learned. Or what Father Arden has learned. So I'm going to roll and see has he really learned much about what's going on? And that's a no. He doesn't really know what's going on. He doesn't have that much information. So as this conversation winds down a little bit, Willona is going to approach him. She's going to offer her services. Her entire thing, if you've been following along, is she is here basically on a crusade to fight undead and remove the undead curse from the world. She's going to walk up and introduce herself, kind of explained why she's here, see if there's anything she can do to help Father Arden. What I'm going to do here really quick, we're going to use a reaction check here. All right. Wow, that's a very good roll. So definitely positive. Father Arden is eagerly interested in what she has to say. She probably begins the conversation discussing what happened back in Burrowmore. Does she tell him? I think she would. Does she tell him about what she sensed in the water or while they were over the lake? No, she does not. Interesting. So she basically tells him what happened back in Burrowmore, that her and her friends would like to help with this. Of course, she hasn't even talked to the rest of the band, but hey, you know what? Your friends get you into trouble all the time, right? He agrees that he would love for help. So they talk it out for a little while, and Willona gets him to agree to let the group to investigate, to let them help. And he seems very appreciative of the help. All right, so the band is then going to go over here and begin searching this area. I don't know if they're going to find anything. I don't have anything thought ahead about this. So I'm going to roll a straight. Does the band... I'm going to roll straight Oracle. Does the band uncover anything that might be a clue to what's going on? That's a yes. What might they uncover here? All right, so I took a quick moment. I stopped recording because I was really at a little bit of a loss as to what happened. What clue might have been left behind. And when you're... I guess, let me digress here and step into the world of solo. I know a lot of people watch some of these videos, mine along with a lot of other people's that play awesome games online. Part of the reason you're watching is to understand how we play. So I stepped away for a moment because I wanted to think about what would make sense from a DM standpoint at this point in my adventure, because when you're playing solo, you're wearing two hats. You're being a player or multiple players, and you're also being the DM. So part of your role in the DM hat side is that you are trying to tell a story that makes sense and is entertaining and fun for the players. So I wanted to step back and come up with something that was logical and made sense in respect to the overall story arc. I have a very thin story arc that I'm working on for what's going on here. And some of the events that are happening are connected, some of them are not. But I know what's going on in the background. I haven't told you guys this because I don't want to ruin the fun. And I think this will be the entire point of season 2, maybe even season 3. We'll see. But I know what's going on. So I stopped recording for a minute because I didn't know how long it was going to take. Surprisingly, it only took me about 2 minutes. But I wanted to come up with something that made sense for the story, and I didn't want to roll it totally random. Now, for a lot of people, I know there are a lot of soloists out there that are die hard. I roll the dice. They tell me everything that happens in the adventure. And that's cool. Play the game your way. I don't like to play that way. I do. I mean, you've just seen I've rolled a bunch of random dice here to kind of steer the events that are happening. But this is a pivotal moment that I know as a DM is connected to my overall story arc. And so I'm not going to completely rely on a die roll to steer the entire story. So I have an underlying idea of what's going on. I use dice to determine if they found anything, which they did, and I hadn't planned on that. And so now as a DM, I've taken a moment to figure out what was going on, and now we will see what's going on. Back to the game. The band heads over to the cemetery and they start digging around. And very quickly, they notice every tombstone has some sort of liquid poured over it. And this liquid is a black, oozy substance. Not much, but a little bit. Enough that if you looked at it casually, you might say that it looks like a bird pooped on there. Like, you know, you've seen bird poop on your car, right? Same kind of thing, except every single one has it. It's relatively fresh, and it's all oddly almost in the exact same spot on every tombstone. So maybe it's the top of the tombstones are flat. You know, there may be just almost like a flat rectangular thing with the name and the dates on the front. But on the top, in the middle of the top, there's a small pool of this black, gooey, not dry liquid, which means it was put there recently, right? So Willona, she's going to touch this. Let's see if there's any reaction. Knowing as a GM, I know what is going on. So I'm going to say yes, something happens, because I think something would happen. And that is a 5 to a 2. That is a definite yes. So Willona reaches out and touches one of these little globs, like, oh, what is that? And she immediately has a vision. And it's such a strong vision, it physically knocks her back a couple feet onto her butt, and she exclaims in shock. The band runs over, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, are you all right? She's got a massive, powerful headache. You know, she's squeezing her eyes, trying to fight through the pain of the headache. When she comes to, I gotta make sure I pronounce it right. Okay, see, yes, Matt wrote it out. This is how bad I am with a pronunciation guide. She says, I saw him in the dark. I think it was a castle or a keep or something. All I heard was Quixocoatl. And we will stop right there. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Come back for the next episode.